And now for our wacky stories of the week.
Well, this is really interesting. In North London, one of the busiest motorways, which is actually over 11 kilometres long, was actually closed because of a fire. So instead of, sitting there fuming, thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be late to work, this guy actually, in his nightgown, gets on the motorway with his ironing board and decides to start ironing his white shirt in the middle of the highway. Now, one of the cameramen who was actually recording live coverage saw him and took a picture. If you use your time wisely and iron in the middle of a traffic accident.
Who carries their ironing board?
You just go online and see the picture. It's very funny. He's actually wearing this really baggy nightgown, and then he's got his ironing board and he's ironing another one.
Wow. Hey, you know what lesson I take out of this story?
What?
That guys can do their own ironing.
The Y Factor.
And to our final wacky story of the week. You know that celebrity Zaza Gabor, or is it pronounced Jar Jar Gabor?
The 95-year-old one?
Yep, the 95-year-old one. Now, she and her husband want to have a baby.
At 95?
And her husband's about 80, somewhere in his 80s.
Joy. Hasn't she been married 7 times already?
Yep, she's been married 7 times. And but her husband reckons that, she should get to hear the screams of their baby before she passes away.
So to be transported to the hereafter.
With the wails of the babies.
So how is she planning to do this exactly?
Surrogacy.
Oh.
Yeah, and her daughter's come out and just said, her husband's whacked and out of his mind if he thinks this is going to happen.
I think I have to agree with the daughter on that one.
The Y Factor.
And that brings us to the end of our news segment for the week. Just a quick reminder, our Facebook page is the Y Factor Radio Show. Our email is yfactor@live.com.au. And we will be taking a short song break.
Stay tuned for the most exciting part of the episode where we talk about food with our guest blogger.
Stay with us. You're listening to the Y Factor on 87.6 FM.
Deep in the deepest ocean, high in the highest mountain, in the forest, in the desert, you can see God's creation. In the forest, in the desert, you can see God's creation.
Miran, what was that hobo song?
Oh, it's to put you in touch with your feelings, especially with those feelings coming out of your stomach.
Okay, well, speaking of stomach, today we have a guest on our show. We have Zainab Gimildian, who's actually a food blogger.
Welcome to the show, Zainab.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, Zainab, tell us, what brought you into food blogging? What made you start?
Well, I'm known in my circle of friends as being someone who's really into their food, and I mean really into my food. So, and also I have a love of writing, and I thought, what better way to combine my 2 passions in life, writing and food? So this pretty much brought about my food blog, and I have to give credit where credit is due. There's a blog called Street Food, which I've been reading lately, and it's a couple who go to different places in Sydney and review them. And I thought, why not start something like this for the Muslim community with an emphasis on halal food? Because I feel that it's something which is a really up-and-coming thing for young Muslims. We love to go eat out, so why not give a service that recommends places?
Definitely, I think especially for people that work or just want to have, most of the catch-ups happen to be over food. With our friends, I'm like, do we ever do anything that doesn't involve food?
Very
so
true.
Inshallah, this episode, what we will go through is the different types of cuisines, halal and vegetarian options, and we'll also go through, if you have an occasion, which restaurant are you likely to go to?
So let's take it from the top. Let's start breaking it down by cuisines, and Zainab will get you to give us your top picks, for example. So let's say if we were to start with Thai food, what's your top pick of Thai?
Thai food is an interesting one, actually, because the Muslim community seems to have really jumped on the Thai bandwagon lately. If you've noticed, there's been a lot of halal Thai places opening lately.
All over the place.
Yeah, all over the place.
Can we just Zainab some names just for our audience?
For example, if you live in the Bankstown area, you might have noticed that there is a new Thai place called the House of Thai, open next to Chocolates Del Mondo. And this
That's
place,
on Chapel Road?
Yes, I think it's on Chapel Road, and this place has only been open a couple of weeks. And, Taste of Thai used to be in Bankstown as well. Unfortunately, it's no longer with us. But there's also Thai Hut. And so now, if you live in Bankstown, there's these 2 options available to you, Thai Hut and the House of Thai. And there's lots of Thai places all over Sydney. For example, if you live in the Auburn area, there's Dynamite. And in the city, if you go to uni in the city, for example, you would probably be well aware of Cafe Kasturi, which offers a range of Asian cuisines, including Thai food.
There's also another one I realised just last week. You know where Broadway is, next to Aporto's? It's like a yellow Thai place. I don't know what it's called, but it's actually got halal Thai food. So just in the food court.
Oh, in the food court above Skewers.
That's right.
Yep, and there is Malacca Straits as well, which offers a range of Asian cuisines, including Thai food. And how can I forget my favourite, and this has to be my top pick for Thai food, the classic Taste of Thai in Randwick, the original and the best. And Taste of Thai have actually opened a new branch in Kingsford, which isn't much help if you live in
By the way, just a disclaimer, we're not being, this is a food review, so we're not out there to sponsor
Yeah, we're not
or mention.
advertising or endorsing any of these places. This is
Just Zainab's fetish for the food.
critic, Zainab.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Thai, Zainab. If I wanted to branch out, still like, Southeast Asian cuisine, but not Thai. So, for example, if I wanted Singaporean, Malaysian, Laos, is there any halal ones?
If you have a bit of money to spare, which unlike me, if you're not a tight uni student, you might want to go to Neptune's Palace at Darling Harbour, which offers a range of Asian cuisines. But as I said, this is not if you're on a budget.
Well, since we're on the topic of Darling Harbour, what in that area around like UTS, UNSW, USyd, what in that area is affordable for uni students in that cuisine?
In Asian cuisine?
Yeah.
Well, we could move on to the topic of Uyghur food because Dixon Street is a haven for halal food. If you're into Asian food, they have quite a few hawker type stalls in food courts along Dixon Street. These places don't have names. That's how dodgy they are.
Wow.
They're just little stalls. If you walk down Dixon Street, there's many Asian food courts and you just have to walk down there, and there's a few ones like Malaysian and Indonesian cuisines.
So how do you know if it's halal? Like,
they have signs up saying that they're halal,
Yep.
but they don't have names or websites or anything like that because they're tiny. Like if you've been to Malaysia, you'll be familiar with street style hawker food, and if you go to Dixon Street, you will be able to find many food courts, tiny places offering cheap and delicious food.
Well, speaking of cheap and delicious, Silk Road, that's like my staple diet at ACS.
Yeah, it's not exactly Chinese, it's Uyghur, isn't it?
Yep, it's Uyghur food. Uyghur food is funny, actually, because if you think about it, the Uyghur community is quite small in Sydney, and yet there are so many Uyghur places on offer to eat. Dixon Street is full of them, and Silk Road is famed among UTS students for its cheap and delicious food. But just a disclaimer here, if you're very hygiene conscious, I might not recommend Silk Road for you because it's a little on
interesting, let's just say. Are there any other, I think around UNSW?
Yes, just down from UNSW in Kensington, there's a place called Turpan, which is very nice. It's slightly more expensive than Silk Road, with dishes starting from about $10. Silk Road, you can get a meal for under $10.
So it's the same cuisine as Silk Road?
Yes, it's Uyghur food as well. And Turpan, it's a bit more of a place you'd go on a Friday night. Silk Road is more just for a quick lunch with friends. But Turpan is always full on a Friday and Saturday night, and it's somewhere you might go with your family. And their quality of meats and chickens is quite good if you're...
I think there's also one in Auburn just down the road from Dynamite. A halal Chinese restaurant.
Yes, that's true. That's also an Uyghur place. And there's also Uyghur cuisine on Dixon Street, which is similar food to Silk Road, similar quality and similar prices.
Right. But there's no like kind of seating on this Dixon Road. Is it takeaway, like all these
in Dixon Street, there's central seating areas. So, for example, if you go to a food court, the place itself that you go eat won't have its own seats, but it's just like a big hall with seating. But the places that I've mentioned, like Uyghur cuisine, they're actually sit-down places where you can eat.
It's a food court just like in Westfields, for example?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But it's very Asian style. It's just like being in Malaysia, if you've ever been to Malaysia.
Wow. So it's kind of like Chinatown, but Asian town.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
It is Chinatown. Like if you go past, you'll see all the trademark, fish tanks with a live fish, and you can select your things out from there.
That always kind of freaks.
Okay, Zainab, how about Turkish food? I know Turkey probably go to Auburn, but any recommendations for restaurants?
Turkish food is also interesting because, you see it go from the very cheap to, you know, your standard like kebab shop next to the station to high class dining. So for example, there's Effendi's in Balmain, which is really high class Turkish dining, but that's definitely not if you're on a budget. And then there are the in-between options, so something in between your kebab shop and something, you know, high class. So for example, last week I went to this new Turkish place in Newtown called Mati, which is a really nice place to go if you have a function, for example. It's laid back, so it's, you know, the prices are maybe ranging between $10 and $20. But the decor is nice, and they have a big room up the back if you need it for, you know, some kind of gathering.
How about in other suburbs for Turkish food?
Well, if my top pick for Turkish food has to be in Auburn, you know, I'm loyal to Auburn, and that's New Star Kebab. And you will know that this is the best place because you'll have to queue up to get in on a Friday or Saturday night. I highly recommend their grills, and their A-run is also really good. It's fresh.
Well, there's obviously Mardo's also in Auburn, so if you wanted to have like a chilled cafe style.
I like the decor in Mardo's. It's very Turkish, which I guess most Turkish restaurants have.
Well, speaking of Auburn, there's a couple of Persian restaurants in Auburn.
Yeah, Persian food is really interesting. The flavors are something that not many people are familiar with because they combine a tangy sort of taste using, you know, saffron and lime with sweet flavors. So for example, Zeresh Polo is a really tasty Persian dish with pomegranates in it, and they have a really interesting range of flavors on offer. For example, they have a dessert and a Persian ice cream which has saffron, pistachio and lime in it, which is
Are you sure that's a dessert?
No, it's really cool. Like you eat the ice cream, which is sweet, but then you drip like lime on it, and it's the contrast of the flavors. Well, what restaurants are there that offer that?
There's Vatan. Vatan is my top pick for Auburn Persian food, and
that's on the main street,
the main road. And then there's also Al Bor's, which is in the complex where Woolworths is. It's right next to it, and where Nando's is. If you just walk down, it's overlooking the car park for where Coles is.
It's got a pretty clear sign on it as well. It's hard to miss.
Any other Persian restaurants in the city?
There's Anahita on the North Shore, but that's quite expensive. So yeah, if you're a uni student, steer clear of that one.
Is it quite expensive because it caters for functions, or is it just expensive cuisine?
Well, maybe because it's on the North Shore as well. So it's catering to a different type of clientele, you could say.
Of course.